Is Saturday, December 27th. This is the Christian Commute. I am your host, Seth Dunn. You're riding with me to Colbert, Georgia. Not Athens. I could have said Athens and you would have known where I was talking about. But my in-laws live in Colbert, not Colvert, as my navigation computer thinks when I speak to it. Excuse me, Colbert. C-O-L-B-E-R-T. That's where my in-laws live, and I'm going there to spend Christmas with them, or the day after Christmas with them. We just had Christmas with my family on Christmas Day, my parents and my brother. So I'm headed to the other family, to the in-laws. I'm all alone. My wife and kids already came. They left Christmas night. I spent Christmas Day mostly in bed because I had a stomach bug. So, not a great Christmas Day for me, but I'm recovered now and I'm going to join my family, which means special episode for you. It's a special episode because there's no Bible chapter review. Sorry. I have a theory that the air quality in this car isn't very good. I'm in the Kia Soul, and my wife parked it in the garage. She moved it out of the driveway a couple weeks ago. She parked it in the garage and then stacked some junk on the hood, which meant that in order to drive the car, I would have to unstack the junk. So I haven't driven this car in, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, because I have 5 cars. And if there is the slightest hindrance to me driving one of them, like, oh, I've got to take 2 minutes and unstack the junk off the hood, and then I got to back it out of the garage, I'm not doing that. I'm going to drive one of these other cars. So I've been driving the other cars, but it's been letting me test my theory that the air quality in this car is not very good. And I'm going to see, now that I'm driving this car again, if I start coughing in the next few days, because you guys know I cough all the time, that it's the air quality in this car. So I'm doing a little scientific experiment on myself. There also, I have a pause. I went to Wendy's for breakfast to have a drink. It's one of those energy drinks because I stayed up late with my brother last night, and then I woke up early for me, 8 o'clock, to drive, so I'm drinking this energy drink. So as I get into this podcast and the energy drink stops kicking in, it may be a little extreme. I may just tell you how I really feel, which, as you guys know, I do all the time anyway. Oh, I'm on so many rabbit trails now. Let me see. What was I even talking about? I was talking about it being a special episode with no Bible chapter review. Then I coughed and said, oh, I'm in this other car. Here's why. And then, as I hold on, I got a drink from Wendy's. Just on and on and on. But this is a special episode in the Kia Soul. I'm all by myself. And there's no Bible chapter review. There hasn't been an episode in quite some time, as you know, because I told y'all, I was like, I ain't going to work, it's Christmas time. I've been working at home in my basement, as I ain't driving in there. I talked to the VP of Finance yesterday. She's like, I'm going to go in tomorrow. I'm like, why are you going in on Monday? She said Monday. I was like, nobody will be there. She's like, well, I got to check on. We still have mail. Somebody has to go in and check the mail because people send checks in the mail. That still happens. We may not use checks, but businesses still use checks. So if you're in a business, somebody just send you a check for $50,000. Here you go. People are not putting that on their online bill pay, apparently. Or their Wells Fargo debit. So heavy weighs the head that wears the crown. The VP has to go into the office on Monday to check the mail. Let me tell you something. If I was the VP, ring, ring, hey, one of the 20 people who work for me, I need you to go in, check the mail, thanks. I'd call the person closest to the office, but I wouldn't do it. Like, hey, somebody else do this. I've risen to this level, and somebody else is going to do the thing I don't want to do. Now, some might say that's bad leadership. Listen, if I was like a colonel in the army, like I'd lead the charge, okay? I would lead the charge against the Nazis or whoever we're fighting. Who would we fight now? ISIS. Get it? I'd be in the helicopter like Colonel Kilgore, been like playing Wagner, saying, "Get him!" But I'm not going to go check that out. But also, the VP has a lot of kids too, so maybe she wants to go back to the office. You know, maybe she wants to. But anyway, I've been working at home, and I'm going to work one day at home next week and take 2 days off. So, ain't going to be no shows. There might be a show on the way back from Athens if nobody rides with me, because I got a little Y Cross Point update. I mean, just a little preview. The lead pastor went to England to work on his doctorate, which I'm going to gamble the church is paying for. Yes. And then while he was gone, a guest preacher, not one of the other Blue Million staff preachers, and not one of the campus pastors. No, he had a guest come in and talk about giving. You got to give God your best. Don't be like Abel. Don't be like Cain. You got to be like Abel. All right? So basically come in and beat the people up for money at Christmas time. Because what do churches get at Christmas time? Especially seeker-sensitive Ayatollah of rock and roll and goat churches like Crosspoint, which are full of lost people and immature Christians. What do they get? The leftovers, right? People spend up all their money on Christmas. I'm like, oh, I got $12 left. I guess I'll give that to church. So it strains the church finances. So while he's on his international travel trip, Pastor Moneybags has somebody else come in to preach about giving. Do you understand these churches bring somebody else in to beat the sheep up about giving more so they don't resent like their little hero in the pulpit? You know, they're not going to resent James. It's some guest guy who they're not going to see again for a year. You guys don't want to be giving leftovers like Cain. No, God gave you his only son. You need to give him more than leftovers. You know, to beat the people up for money at Christmas time. So I'm going to do probably the next special episode on the way back from Culvert to my house. This is going to be about that little mega church, seeker-sensitive Ayatollah of rock and roll, go church in the purple haze with a coffee bar led by Pastor Electric Blue. Pastor Electric Blue is off gallivanting around Europe. Well, I guess he was in England studying, but Pastor Electric Blue is not going to beat you up for money. I almost preempted this special episode. You don't even know the title yet, unless you looked on the computer. But I was like, no, I'm going to do this because it's that time of year. It's time to talk about the nominees for Pulpit and Pen's Worst Christian of the Year. This is the one blog article that I managed to make time to do no matter what at Pulpit and Pen. There's all kinds of stuff I could blog about. When I got too busy to blog, stuff didn't stop happening, okay? The Taverner Smiths are still out there in the world. Steve and Stevie Flockhart are still out there. I have a Stevie Flockhart 3-parter that I'm still on part 2 of that's been there for a year. And I'm under no illusions that, man, once I write this 3-parter, those people are going to see Stevie Flockhart for who he is. I'm not under any illusions of that. They're not. Some people might, but mostly they're going to stick with him. Because who's at that church anyway? Low discernment people who overlook things. One of my sons, when he gets in the proverbial cookie jar, and he knows he's not supposed to, like he hasn't asked if he can get the candy or the cookie, and he knows it's before dinner, he shouldn't be doing it. What he'll do is he'll go grab the Hershey bar, break off a piece, and bring it to me, or bring it to my wife. And I saw my nephew do the same thing yesterday. Here you go. Oh, thank you. And you know what that makes you? An accessory to the crime. All right, that's kind of creepy for a little kid to think strategically like that, because he's 8. But you're eating the chocolate, and now you can't criticize me for eating the chocolate. You're an accessory to the crime. You're one of us, okay? You're not going to judge me. You're in it with me. And that's the mindset, I think, of a lot of people who go to these non-denominational, seeker-sensitive, purple haze goat churches. People who would follow someone like Stevie Flockhart. People who would decide that, hey, Cross Point is for me. Is they know that the church is bad and the pastor is bad and that everyone around them is bad. That, oh yeah, you know, this is the kind of church we can go out drinking Saturday night 3 out of 4 weekends a month and nobody is going to really judge you for it. And they know that because they were out drinking Saturday night 3 or 4 weekends. You know, this is fine. That guy in the pulpit who's unqualified morally. Now, by the way, I'm not talking about the Cross Point guy or the Rockbridge guy. I've never heard anything about them being immoral. This is like the Greg Locks of the world, the Stevie Flockharts of the world. This guy who's just absolutely immorally disqualified, I don't judge him on that because I'm that way too. And I want to see somebody who's as bad as me up there. Because we ate the chocolate before dinner time together. There was an article that came out on Julie Roy's. I almost did a show on it, but I was sitting at home. Sitting at home making spreadsheets. And the online pastors, quote unquote online pastors. So no such thing as an online pastor. Nevertheless, they exist at Global Vision Bible Church. No such thing as a woman pastor, but it was a husband and wife who were the quote unquote online pastors of Greg Locke's church. They came out, they're writing a book, and they did a tell-all to one of the people who writes for Julie Roy's, and they're like, there's no accountability. We at Global Vision, we've overlooked so much. Like, basically they're saying like Greg Locke and Global Vision, they're just taking people's money and spending it on whatever, and if you say anything, they'll throw you out. And our conscience says, there's 2 of them, we just won't allow us to go through this any longer. This place is bad news. And I'm like, hey y'all. Y'all remember of March of 2018? Is it 2018? Has it been that long? March of 2018? 7 years ago? When I interviewed Greg Locke's wife in a battered women's shelter. The woman he divorced to marry his secretary.
Take exit
anybody recall that?
285 East bypass toward Greenville,
So
Augusta.
you people who go to Global Vision Bible Church, and you wicked people who decided that you were going to be a man and woman online pastor at Global Vision Bible Church, you walked right over that article from that interview at the battered women's shelter and decided, don't worry, this man's totally qualified, and this church doing deliverance ministry is totally legit. You walked right through that. What did you expect? Oh, y'all say Greg Locke's taking money and spending on other stuff? Remember the article we wrote 7 years ago at Pulpit and Pen that said him and Jared Allman were buying new cars for themselves and they just dismissed the elders who had a problem with it? Remember that? Ain't nothing changed. So, all that to say, I don't feel as much as a sense of urgency to do all the Pulpit and Pen publishing that I used to, because you tell these wicked people how wicked their heroes are, but they are eating the chocolate together. Does that mean I'm going to, there's no reason to write any of these articles? No, because I'm sure they help somebody. But once you've done one article on how unqualified somebody is, unless you find the dead girl or live boy in the bed, they ain't listening. Oh, I've rankled myself. I have a hernia. so old, my body's breaking now. And I drank this energy drink, but now I gotta stay calm. Because if I just get going about people like Greg Locke, my body is going to get tense and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, yeah, I've chosen to do the Worst Christian of the Year episode. This is just about the nominees. All right? So this is the 2025 nominees for Pulpit and Pen's Worst Christian of the Year. Drum roll, please. Here are the nominees. Rachel Den Hollander, Kirk Cameron, N.T. Wright, Jeff Org, J.D. Greer. And J.D. Greer has already won Worst Christian of the Year before. It was a few years ago. He even talked about it. He showed his trophy on the internet. My wife lost her job. I don't know if he's going to get his GOAT trophy this year. So my wife lost her job a few weeks ago. Things are real tight at my house. So I don't know if I can be dropping money going to Amazon or Etsy and buying GOAT trophies customized that say, "You're the worst Christian of the year," and sending it to some stranger who doesn't care. But it's a tradition. I might do it. So J.D. Greer has a chance to repeat.
Exit right 2, exit 259, I-285 East bypass toward Greenville,
Hold on.
Augusta.
Let me get
use
over.
the right 2 lanes to stay to the right 2, I-285 East bypass
I'm
toward
merging.
Greenville, Augusta.
That doesn't happen on the Oscars, does it? Hold on while our host merges. I know how to get there, but I've got the navigation lady on to keep me aware, because I could be talking about J.D. Greer and just go on a
Use
tangent
the right 2 lanes
about
to
how
stay to the
abjectly
right 2,
awful he is.
I-285 East bypass toward Greenville, Augusta.
And then get distracted by my hernia and be like, "Oh, you're so awful, and I have a hernia. I don't feel good." Totally miss my exit. You know what? I might really sell this car for real. This might be my last episode in this car. I like it, but I just can't justify having 5. At least 5 when I only have one job. Car insurance is no joke. But anyway, those are the nominees. Now let me say this, and I have to say this every year, and it's getting better. Worst Christian of the Year is not some pharisaical thing, right? Where the scribe or the teacher of the law walks into the temple and says, "I thank you, Lord, that I'm not like this sinner over here. Okay, I thank you, God, that I'm not like this publican." And you know, Jesus tells that story, right? There's a publican who goes to the temple and he says, "Lord, take pity on me, a poor sinner." And then there's a teacher of the law or scribe, Pharisee type guy who goes, "Oh, Lord, thank you, I'm not as bad as this guy." And Jesus says the publican goes away justified because he was sorry for his sins, and the other guy just thinks he's better than people. That's not what Worst Christian of the Year is, okay? It's not a spiritual thing. It's not saying these people over here are worse sinners than these people over here. Because we know theologically that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We know that. Everybody, okay? And that our good deeds, and some people's deeds are better than others, but our good deeds are like filthy rags before God. Like, we cannot justify ourselves. It's only through Christ, who came and lived a perfect, sinless life, that we can be redeemed. Only Christ is perfect. And the rest of us are pretty much all equally damned, if not for the grace of God. Okay.
Watch out, vehicle
We
on
know that.
shoulder ahead.
All right. Now, I always write that on the article, but whenever I post it, somebody says, "Well, you should have nominated me. I'm the worst Christian." Or, "You should have nominated Paul. He says he's the chief of sinners." Or, "Maybe you ought to nominate yourself." So this year, somebody said, you ought to leave a blank one that says known only to God. Like, you people, would you read what it says? The worst Christian is the person who is a professed Christian, who has the most deleterious effect. There's not a vehicle on the shoulder. Most deleterious effect on the church at large. Okay. Oh, there's the disabled vehicle. So let me give an example. Okay. I'll just throw Kirk Cameron because he's a nominee in there. Kirk Cameron has started teaching annihilationism. Okay, which is a heresy. I hate 285, by the way. I'm on I-285. And you heard me on 75, right? I drove all the way here on the first part of the show on I-75. And the navigation lady didn't say anything. I'm on 285. I haven't been on 285 for 2 miles. And navigation lady is like, there's a cop. There's somebody broke down on the shoulder. She didn't say broken down. She speaks like a country redneck. They're broke down. There's somebody broke down on the shoulder. Oh, there's construction ahead. Oh, there's an object in the road. I hate I-285. And when the Lord destroys all the evil and the brightness of his coming, I can't wait for him to just destroy 285 and Spaghetti Junction. One day. Maranatha. So Kirk Cameron's teaching annihilationism. But maybe Kirk Cameron goes home every night and treats his wife just as gentle and graceful as you can, goes to church every Sunday, tithes 10%, and then gives $1,000 extra, gives to the poor and the needy, and then is kind to all his neighbors. Maybe he's just an absolutely fantastic guy. And then there's maybe a guy in his church who is addicted to pornography and cheats on his taxes and flips people off and has road rage. Okay, who's worse? Like the guy addicted to pornography flipping everybody off on I-285. He's worse. He's treating people like dirt. He may not even really be saved. Who's a worse Christian? That guy? Okay, but we're not talking about how much you sin, because while we just said theologically, we're all equally damned. You've ever seen Full Metal Jacket? And Arlie Ermy, he plays the drill sergeant, and he goes, I'm not going to say it on this podcast. He just, whether your racial epithet for black people, racial epithet for Italians, racial epithet, I could say greasers, whether you're N-words, epithet for Jew, epithet for Italian, or greasers. You all know what a greaser is? Like a guy in the 50s who wore leather jackets and slicked his hair back. Then he goes, here you're all equally worthless. Basically, cast your racial divides aside. You all are all maggots here. We're going to break you down and build you in the Marines. That's sort of how it is for Christians, okay? We're all equally worthless in our sins. And even the righteous good things we do, some of us do more than others. It was all predestined by God. The Bible says that he foreordained our good works in eternity past. That's in Ephesians. Okay? So even the good stuff you do, God planned it out for you, because we're his workmanship. But compare the guy flipping everybody off on 285, cheating on his taxes with pornography addiction, to Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron's teaching thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people heresy. That's why he is the worst Christian, or worse than that guy, because of the effect he has on the church at large. Like, nobody knows who this other dude is. He's being a jerk. Nobody knows he cheats on his taxes. Nobody knows he's addicted to pornography. And we're flipping people off on I-285. Nobody knows where he goes to church. They can't see him. He's got tinted windows. Do y'all get it? It's about the effect. So it's not trying to say one person is better than the other, or these people are so terrible. And I've said that for years in the articles. Like, it's not what it's about, guys. And people try to say, oh, this. Not what it is. It's about the effect. So let's run down the list of nominees. And there's no particular order. I'm just trying to remember them all. And I'm just going to be really frank with you and tell you how this works.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Usually I'll just be going along my life and something comes to my attention and I'll say, oh, that person just won Worst Christian of the Year. Unless somebody comes out and is like holding hands with the literal devil in his pulpit and saying, this guy's actually all right with me. The person I notice, say in June or April, who does something really bad, they're a lock for Worst Christian of the Year. And I rarely change it. But at the end, I was like, I got to have nominees, so let me throw in 3 or 4 other people. That's how the process works. I don't want anybody to think that I have some selection criteria and I'm doing all, no. There's some guy who's or girl who's egregiously bad, and then I'm like, let me find some of the usual suspects. Right? That's how this process works. There is no committee. It's not like the Oscars or the Heisman. Like at the Oscars, everybody sits and they watch the movies, right? They're the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and they watch all the movies and they say, all right, these are the best movies. Now we're gonna nominate the best actors and actresses
in 1 mile.
And we as experts are going to vote
right to continue on I-285
on who gets these awards.
Then exit right.
Not quite. Ain't nobody got time for that. I mean, they do, but I don't. So here are the nominees in no particular order. And I was going to mention that when I first published the article, I actually forgot one of them. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to put that person in there. So I updated it. We're going to talk first about Rachel Den Hollander. Rachel Den Hollander. Such a disappointment. Okay. So Rachel Den Hollander first became nationally known
on I-285 East.
For her...
Then use the right 2 lanes to exit right 2 exit 33B. I-85.
Oh my gosh, Waze. For her victim impact statement.
Use the right 2 lanes to exit right 2 exit 33B.
I get it, navigation. Can I turn this navigation lady down? I'm going to turn it down. For her victim impact statement, she was one of the first people to accuse Larry Nassar of wrongdoing. So you guys remember who Larry Nassar is? Is he still alive? Did he kill himself in prison? Larry Nassar was a doctor, like one of these sports doctors. I don't know if he was an orthopedic doctor or sports type of massage doctor, whatever he was. He worked for Michigan State in their athletic department, rehabbing all the wrestlers and football players and gymnasts and whatnot. And he also worked for the U.S. Olympic gymnastics program. And he was sexually molesting people, like under the guise of giving them medical treatment. Like he was going to third base on girls, basically. Like, oh, this is a total medical thing. And I don't remember if it was guys and girls, but it was like 100 people that he was molesting. I remember the Fab Five team that won the gold, gymnastics gold. I can only remember Michaela Maroney's name because she was all mad that she got second place in the individual. He was molesting them in Japan, like on the way. It was just a part of their lives. And finally, Rachel Den Hollander was like, this dude molested me. And all these other people were like, yeah, he molested me too. And they sent Larry Nassar to jail for like 1,000,000 years, okay? And Rachel Den Hollander, in her victim impact statement, could have got up there and said, you're an unredeemable piece of scum, but she got up there and it's basically like, you can be forgiven in Jesus, and Jesus tells us to forgive people. And had a Christian attitude about it. And I remember Jordan wrote an article about it at Pulpit and Pen, like, this is how Christians ought to respond to this. But like so many others who go through something horrible, she's chosen to basically make her living at it. To me, she's the evangelical David Hogue. Do you guys know who David Hogue is? there was, I'm sorry, it sounds callous not to remember the name of the school, but there are so many school shootings, sadly, that it's hard to remember the names. There was a school shooting in Florida a few years ago. You know, trench coat weirdo kid who everybody thought was a weirdo shoots up the school. It's the same story every time, okay? And one of the kids who survived the shooting was, I think a junior or senior. His name was David Hogue. And nobody would have ever known who David Hogue was. But he came out for gun control and eventually all these liberal causes. He's not even 30 yet, and he became some kind of Democratic Party chairman. And now David Hogue is a talking head that you might see on TV. And it's one of those things like nobody, sorry to say this, I know you went through something horrible, but nobody would care who David Hogue is or what he thought, and he would not rise to these positions of influence had he not gone to this school that underwent this massacre. Maybe there's a name for this, like crisis entrepreneurship. I don't know. But he basically made a name off his horrible trauma. And that's what Rachel Den Hollander has done. She wrote a book called What's a Girl Worth? And she puts herself off and markets herself as an abuse expert, like a Christian sexual abuse expert. Now, her husband, Jacob, went to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. I think he has an MDiv. I don't even know if he has a job. Maybe he does. Other than, you know, making money off his wife. I really don't. I think he's a Twitter husband. Okay, like Neil Shinby. That's what I think he is, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But he did go to seminary. And Rachel Den Hollander is a lawyer. She went to Michigan State. She has a legitimate undergraduate degree, but she went to law school at some online Christian college that I think is only accredited in California. Nevertheless, by the letter of the law, she's a lawyer. Okay. But there's a difference between, what is it? What's that girl's name? Who am I thinking of from Legally Blonde? There's Elle Woods going to Harvard Law. And then there's, I went to online Christian Bible College Law School, okay? Oak Cliff or something. So here's this girl who nobody would know who she is unless she was molested. I mean, it wouldn't want to happen to me or my family, but nobody would know who Rachel Den Hollander was if she wasn't molested by Larry Nassar. She might actually have to, write legal briefs as some 80-hour work peon at a law firm if she hadn't been molested. But now she's an author and she puts herself as an expert in sexual abuse. Well, what makes you an expert in sexual abuse, lady? Listen, there's some Ukrainian somewhere right now getting bombed by Russia. It doesn't make that Ukrainian an expert in warfare. Okay? Just because you're a victim of something doesn't make you an expert in it. It just makes you unlucky. But all this, why would this make her the worst Christian? Why is this bad? Okay, because we're getting there. Just to give you an idea of her theology, you can look this up. Rachel Den Hollander claimed that David raped Bathsheba. Now, if you read the Bible, you'll see that Bathsheba is bathing outside. And David, who should have been at war, he was not being a good leader. He was telling somebody else to go and check the mail at the office instead of doing it himself. The Bible says, I think is it 1 Kings chapter 10? Or is it 2 Samuel 10? I don't remember what chapter it is or really what books, but Samuel or Kings. I mean, that's pretty close. It says, it's the time when kings go out to war, but David stays home. So he's already not acting in the right capacity. He's already being a bad leader. He's already being selfish. And then he sees somebody else's wife out bathing. He sends for her. They engage in sexual intercourse. She becomes pregnant, and then y'all know the rest of the story from there. He arranges for her husband to come back from war. He tries to get her husband to sleep with her, so everybody would think, oh, it's her husband Uriah's baby. But that doesn't work, because he is too much of an upright man to sleep with his wife while his fellow soldiers were out fighting and don't have the comfort of their wives. So David's like, all right, I'm going to send a letter back to the general, and I'm going to say, send this guy on the front lines, make sure he dies. Right? Then he dies. Then David takes his wife. Says, oh, heck, look at this. This poor guy, this poor woman, her husband died, and I married her. I'm taking care of her. And look, we have a baby. And the prophet Nathan's like, nope, you didn't get away with nothing, bud. You stole that guy's wife and had him killed. But what does Rachel Den Hollander come and say? Oh, David raped Bathsheba, and it had to be rape because it's a power imbalance. And it's always rape or sexual abuse when there's a power imbalance. And sensible complementarians everywhere say, well, is it rape every time I have sex with my wife? Because there's a power imbalance there, because she has to submit to me. And think about all these third world countries where they don't have women's rights, all right? Where every man and every woman, there's a power imbalance. Is it rape every time? I mean, every time one of them has sex? And that's when we start to just put this power imbalance crap to a reductio ad absurdum. There's a difference between a 14-year-old girl and a 35-year-old man. That's what we call statutory rape because of maturity level and power imbalance. But if you're a grown woman and you're a grown man, there can be a power imbalance where it has to do with employment or something like that, but it does not necessitate rape or sexual abuse. But listen, when you are a crisis entrepreneur and your business is sexual abuse, you need more abuse for your business to work. If you're the Pied Piper, don't you need snakes? Right? If you're an exterminator, you need rats. So pretend you're an exterminator and all of a sudden there's some virus that wipes out the world's rats. What are you going to start saying? Hey, those squirrels, those are really rats. All right? And I think that's what Rachel Den Hollander does. Oh, it's abuse, it's abuse, it's abuse. I'm an abuse advocate. I write a book and you're going to consult me for abuse. Okay? And again, where's the negative, deleterious effect on the visible church at whole? Here's where we get. This is someone who champions her, or puts herself up as a champion of the abused. She's an advocate. She's trying to turn things around for the better. Crisis entrepreneur. But here's what we learned recently, thanks to the discovery in the David Sills lawsuit and the reporting of Megan Basham. Rachel Den Hollander was playing both sides. And might I say, don't sue me, I know you're a lawyer, I think that's unethical. So while Rachel Den Hollander was serving as an advisor to the Southern Baptist Executive Committee on how to handle sexual abuse, like this is what you do, this is how you need to make it right, she was at the same time, in her capacity as a lawyer, advising, if not representing, her friend Jennifer Lyle, who was suing the Southern Baptist Convention Executive Committee. So here's what happened. I've talked about this girl, this woman. She's dead now. She died in her 40s of a stroke. There was a grown woman named Jennifer Lyle who went to college and graduated from college, and then went and got her master's degree at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. So, a grown woman. If you've graduated from a 4-year college, you're a grown woman, okay? So this grown woman went to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary and got into a relationship with a professor there named David Sills, okay? Now, I think David Sills and his wife are weirdos, because what they did is they told Jennifer Lyle, like, we'd like to spiritually adopt you as our daughter in the faith, since you don't come from a Christian home. Like, can't you tell these things, people like this are weirdos? And then they developed this familiar relationship, and David Sills came on to Jennifer Lyell, and they engaged in a sexual relationship for years, even after Jennifer Lyell graduated and became an executive at Lifeway Christian Resources. Power imbalance, power imbalance. Who was she? He was a professor and she was a student. She's a grown woman. Guys, it's not rare for some 50-year-old professor to start getting it on with a 20-something-year-old student, okay? But do you understand we're in a world that works both ways? The professor has something the student wants, influence, and the 20-year-old girl has something the 50-year-old guy wants? Do we not understand that the 20-year-old girl has something that the old dudes want? Do I have to spell it out? But eventually, this relationship, years later, became known, and Jennifer Lyell got fired from Lifeway, high-ranking position. And Baptist Press wrote about it and called it a morally inappropriate relationship. That is a bare, nondescriptive fact if I've ever heard one. Jennifer Lyell sued the executive committee, because Baptist Press is run by the executive committee, and settled, listen guys, for $1 million, like Dr. Evil, pinky to the mouth, $1 million. That's how much it is of Southern Baptist money, the money that little old ladies give to send missionaries to the world, all right? $1 million for saying the woman engaged in a morally inappropriate relationship. Obviously, the professor was fired. So you have Lyell suing the executive committee. You have her lawyer friend, Rachel Den Hollander, backing her. But at the same time, Den Hollander is advising the committee as a subject member expert. Now, listen, the executive committee leadership is obviously full of idiots like Ed Litton at the time, all right? Southern Baptists, you deserve the idiots who have run your convention into the ground financially. But that's what she's nominated for, being unethical and playing both sides. And then what did we find out later through the discovery? We got emails from Jennifer Lyell writing David Sills like, "Oh, I miss you so much. I don't know if I can't stand to be without you for another month. I got to visit." Calling him Pookie Bear, or so, a pet. It's not literally Pookie Bear, but there's some kind of name. It's Stockholm syndrome. No, it's a grown woman wanting to be with this man that she's got this relationship with. Now, we can sit here all day long and say we're not going to pretend his wife didn't know about it. Obviously, I think it's obvious that she did. Just like I think it's obviously like the Reynolds case at Truett McConnell. Like, you tell me that guy's wife didn't know. And like the Reynolds case at Truett McConnell, you tell me this girl, this postgraduate girl, who's a grown woman, she's just so innocent in this. But here's what you have. You have the Southern Baptist Convention finding out that its employees acted immorally and unethically and firing them. That's what's supposed to happen. But then what happens? Here comes this abuse advocate. This adulterous type woman is totally a victim. And let me advise you, this is how you handle all this. David raped Bathsheba, and then going around on the other side. All right, let's get this $1 million out of them. Wicked and unethical, playing both sides. And this so-called abuse scandal, because it's bigger than Lyell. It's in the Guidestone report and everything. It's cost millions of dollars of money that should have been going to perpetuate missions, but instead is getting spent on lawyers and spent for the sake, I believe, of PR, because crisis entrepreneurs like Worst Christian of the Year 2025, Rachel Den Hollander, are out there playing both sides and creating controversy to line their pockets and make them famous. That's what I think she does. You don't know her, Seth. You don't know her heart. How about she's just wrong and unethical? You can say I don't know her heart all day long, but what you can't deny is her interpretation of David and Bathsheba power imbalance is garbage. It's basically woke, critical race theory, power imbalance type stuff, a hermeneutic of that put on an ancient text. Number one, bad theology. Number two, you cannot deny that she was being unethical as a lawyer playing both sides. I just think those things can't be denied. And then she's got this massive influence because of what happened to her. Is it Rachel Den Hollander's fault that Ed Litton and company are morons? No. But there's a nomination. Let's move on to the next nomination, because I'm already on 316. I'm making way better time than I thought. I hope I finished. And I went really long on Rachel Den Hollander. That one required a lot of backstory. This one, not so much. N.T. Wright as a nominee. Now, N.T. Wright is unquestionably one of the best Bible scholars in the world as far as like biblical historian. He's an expert on the history and culture of the times, okay? His magnum opus is The Resurrection of the Son of God. 800-page book about the resurrection. I mean, this book's like an inch thick. You should read it. It is one of the best scholarly treatments of the resurrection of Jesus Christ ever, okay? And a defense of the physical resurrection of Jesus Christ, right? Goes through the Bible and goes through Jewish culture of the time and takes great pains to explain that the resurrection talked about in the Bible can only mean the physical resurrection of Jesus, not some spiritual or metaphorical thing like a real resurrection. Also, the resurrection and the promised resurrection of the saints, same deal, okay? And the thing about Wright, he's an Anglican, like an Anglican bishop. And the Anglican Church is so left and liberal. So a guy like Wright coming out of that, oh, you actually believe in the resurrection? Oh, you actually believe in heaven and hell? Like, okay, you're a totally different cat. Yes, there has been controversy with Wright for years with regard to the new perspective on Paul. He's a leading proponent on the new perspective on Paul. That's not news. We've known that. That's like an aberration of things. I don't know about that, guys. We can be careful about that. And yes, there's been controversy because he's in with biologos and believes in, I think, like theistic evolution. You get, when you get these guys who are like historical theologians of the New Testament, like, what do you know about theistic evolution? What do you know about evolutionary science and biology, dude? You took the same middle school classes as the rest of us, okay? They find these guys like, I'm an exegesis, let me tell you the theological perspective. Like, you don't know. You didn't go to science school. You didn't go to science school. You had the same health book as I did in 9th grade. But you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you believe in you're into biologos and Francis Collin and all that weird stuff. Like, you're wrong on that. You're wrong on the new perspective on Paul. But day to day, you know, weighing the good and the bad, what does that say about you? All right? Here's why he gets a nomination this year. This respected theologian, I'm of the Anglicans now, as if like he might be the only one. Or said that he might be the onlyest one, they say in the barber shop. He's the onlyest one who's the respected theologian. Evangelical theologian out of the Church of England. He's on a podcast interview and he just starts talking about, yeah, abortion's totally okay. In some situations it's tragic. But here are these justifications for abortion. And that really made me think about, what's it say about you, N.T. Wright, that you really believe in the resurrection and heaven and hell? But for years, you can remain in the Church of England with all these pro-LGBTQ, pro-abortion leftists who deny the resurrection. Why aren't you disgusted with these heretics, N.T. Wright? How can you stay in partnership with them? I mean, N.T. Wright wrote a book with Marcus Borg, who is Marcus Borg's dead and he's going to hell. All right? He's awaiting judgment in hell right now, Marcus Borg. One of these leftist high church Anglican types. And the book that Wright and Borg wrote together was basically Borg saying all these heretical things and N.T. Wright saying, no, this is against the Bible, this is wrong. But you talk to N.T. Wright, oh, Borg's totally a Christian. By what standard? And I guess we should have noticed this about N.T. Wright a long time ago. What kind of sin and wickedness will he tolerate? Man, if there was pro-abortion people in my church, I couldn't wait to vote those wicked people out. You murderous false converts, get out. Why don't you ask them to repent first? All right, get out. Yes, I would want them to repent and change their minds. That has not been the direction of the Church of England. And so it shouldn't surprise us when N.T. Wright comes out and says abortion is fine. You understand that when somebody like that, who's a top theologian, especially on the so-called right, if there can be a right in the Church of England, when he comes out like that's going to result in babies dying. When some tempted woman's looking for a justification, N.T. Wright, man, he's the man. He says abortion's okay. I hate to say that N.T. Wright's an idiot because he's so smart, but how do you believe the right historical things happen and have such a failure to apply them theologically? So for having his great influence, I mean, this is a guy who's spoken at my own seminary. For his having his great influence as somebody who actually believes in the resurrection, but then goes and justifies abortion, N.T. Wright, nominated Worst Christian of the Year 2025. Now let's move on to Jeff Iorg, I-O-R-G, Jeff Iorg. Former president of Golden Gate, now Gateway Theological Seminary. Current president and CEO of the Executive Committee of the Southern Baptist Convention. So he is the Southern Baptist in charge. Some people think, well, it's the president of the convention who's the Southern Baptist in charge. Wrong. It's the president of the Executive Committee. That's the Southern Baptist in charge. To look at it from a corporate perspective, like if you own stock in a company and you have a year-end meeting, the guy who's running the meeting is like the Southern Baptist Convention president, and the guy who's the president of the company is like the Executive Committee president. Okay, maybe that analogy doesn't match up. It's pretty close. Okay. Iorg stood up at the Southern Baptist Convention in June and did two very deleterious things. One, when people in the convention were seeking to pass the law amendment or another form of it to basically say you cannot be a cooperating church and have female pastors, which goes right in line with the doctrinal dogma of the SBC, is as light and broad as it is. It goes right in line. Iorg got up there and said, well, you know what? And I'm paraphrasing. This could cause lawsuits. If we pass this, we could get sued. So instead of just saying, hey, you guys are theologically right, and if we pass this, we're going to lose money from churches leaving, it's going to make us smaller, he got up there and he protected his money source. Now, this is a guy that the SBC's already been sued out of the building by the sex abuse people. So much that they're having to sell their headquarters to pay for it. Oh, you guys got to be careful. I think this will get us sued. What he did was fear-mongered the convention and helped prevent them from doing the right thing. Because so many people show up at the convention and do whatever the platform tells them to do. Let's listen to this guy. Then he got up and gave a speech, and he said not giving to the cooperative program was the result of expressive individualism. And expressive individualism is like transgender ideology. People who think, I'm going to be this individual and declare myself transgender or gay. You can look this up. And basically compare defying God to declare yourself transgender to deciding, I don't want to give to the cooperative program of the Southern Baptist Convention. I don't want to fall in with the group. And if he's being intellectually honest about that, that's the guy in charge. You're doomed. So he's either intellectually honest in that statement, which it just seems completely insane, or he's doing it to try to get money, which is just wicked. So what is he? The stupidest person in the universe or wicked? I don't know, but that's the guy in charge. And then he gave a speech later and doubled down on that. So here you have Jeff York in front of the Southern Baptist world, which is the biggest Protestant denomination in the United States, extremely influential. Most of you listening probably are either a member of the Southern Baptist Church or have gone to one. I went to a Southern Baptist seminary. My church right now is not a member of the Southern Baptist Convention. It is a Baptist church that I go to. If my church burned down and everybody died, and I had to go to a new church in Cartersville, I would probably go to a Southern Baptist one. Same story for a lot of you, I assume. So this is how important the SBC is. And you got the guy in charge fear-mongering people not to take a stand about the abject liberalism and denial of the authority of Scripture and the order of God. Encouraging people not to stand against it because we might get sued. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, I'm no legal expert. I'm no Rachel Den Hollander. I didn't go to fly-by-night online Christian law school. But I'm pretty sure if somebody sues a Christian denomination or convention or whatever and says, you're discriminating against women because, and they say, well, we believe the Bible says that's into lawsuit, First Amendment. Like Supreme Court 9-0 decision. Okay? Oh, we might get sued. Go away, fearmonger. Where were you when we were getting sued about sex abuse and you could have stood down and said, you're not getting a dime, adulterous woman? Where were you then? And then accusing people who don't want to just blindly give their church's money to be managed by people like you? Excusing them, basically saying you're worse than the transgender or like the transgender? What's wrong with you? Expressive individualism. By the way, I mean, not an argument, but this is America. Expressive individualism. This is Baptists. Priesthood of the believer, soul freedom. Did you miss that class in seminary? Priesthood of the believer and soul freedom, which is what it is basically to be a Baptist besides dunking people. We have an independent church and we're like transgenders if we don't take its money and give it to your organization to waste to give to Jennifer Lyell. That's the kind of thing where you want to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin and double flip him the bird, kick him in the gut, and hit him with a stunner. All right? That's my response to you, Jeff Orr. Okay? That's all I can say. Seth, that's not nice. Well, nominate me next year. Jeff Orr. All right, let's get to J.D. Greear. I think he won in 2018. What an awful person. All right. So some of you guys don't know this. J.D. Greear is on the board of Chick-fil-A. So he is on the board of the company Chick-fil-A, which is supposed to be, God's chicken, right? So recently, there was a Chick-fil-A in Utah, and some of the workers there got gay married, quote unquote gay married. Two dudes got married, quote unquote married. And you know what? You're a secular employer. You cannot control how your employees sin. All right? Not your fault. But what did this Chick-fil-A do? It posted a picture of these two sodomites. Posted it online. Congratulations to sodomite number 1 and sodomite number 2 on their marriage. Wicked. What a huge difference from the stands Chick-fil-A used to take. Now, somebody might say, well, this is just an individual operator, an individual store. It wasn't the company who did this. Well, you can look this up online. Somebody wrote into Chick-fil-A and complained, and they said, well, we value diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right? Chick-fil-A has become woke. And you shouldn't be surprised that they're woke, because Dan Cathy is in with Louis Giglio, and then J.D. Greer's on the board. So when you have a company like Chick-fil-A that's supposed to be run on Christian values and has one of the most influential pastors in the world, not just America, the world, J.D. Greer on its board, they're acting like that, what does it tell you about his leadership? Now, is that what he's nominated for? No, that's just a little extra. First Baptist Church in Knightdale, North Carolina. Look up the documentary on YouTube. J.D. Greer and his expansive multi-site megachurch, Summit. All right, huge franchise in North Carolina, something like 18 campuses. They wanted to put one in Knightdale, North Carolina. And instead of going and renting a building or building something, you know what they tried to do? They tried what equates to a hostile takeover of an existing independent Baptist church. To basically influence the pastor, promise the pastor money, big money, when the church was absorbed by Elevation. All right? To make him a guy who's actively trying to get his church absorbed into, not Elevation, Summit, actively trying to get his church absorbed into Summit. And even before the hostile takeover officially transpired, like spending money to paint the building and redesign the church to look like Summit, like painting it Summit gray, which is the color that Summit churches are. You guys, you notice they're like an Ace Hardware. They all look the same because it's a franchise. They have the same color. It's one thing to be on a board of directors on a secular company and initiate a hostile takeover of another company. Like, we're going to buy your stock and absorb you. That's business. But do you know what the church is to people like J.D. Greer? A business. That's why they paint their churches up like business, run them like businesses, franchise them like businesses. And how wicked do you have to be at J.D. Greer and Summit Church to try to hostile take over another independent church to make them your own little campus? Spoiler alert, didn't work out. But for trying a hostile takeover of a independent local Baptist church to turn into one of your faceless corporate mega church campuses, J.D. Greer, you are nominated for the worst Christian of the year. And finally, we get to Kirk Cameron. All right. Kirk Cameron. Mike Seaver from Growing Pains, and then nothing else. Okay. Except Christian movies like Left Behind and Fireproof. Only got to turn the navigation light up. She's gonna. I know how to get there, but she's gonna tell me the best place to turn. Woe is me. They built a new Whataburger near my in-laws' house and it closed. So Kirk Cameron, after his Hollywood career fizzled because, you know, he became a Christian and didn't want to do all the dirty Hollywood stuff they want people to do. Teen heartthrob Kirk Cameron, you know, could have had it all according to the world. Lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and pride of life. He rejected it for a Christian life. But he remained a celebrity, as in a celebrity evangelist. Sort of being like the celebrity guy for Ray Comfort in Living Waters. So, in Christendom, Kirk Cameron became famous as sort of an evangelical spokesperson for Ray Comfort and Living Waters. So if you've ever done a Living Waters evangelism training, and I've done one, I've done one at First Baptist Church of Cartersville. If you've ever done one, you've seen Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron involved in that, how they do their street evangelism, okay? And it's sort of one of those things like Rachel Den Hollander, like Kirk Cameron, the greater church wouldn't know who you were if you weren't a celebrity. Like, I don't know that he's ever gone to like Bible school to become an educated theologian. I have no idea. And you don't have to become an educated theologian here in the priesthood of all believers, right? To be an evangelist. But Kirk Cameron became very influential as a celebrity Christian. But for years I've noticed something's kind of weird about this. Like, I remember when he started selling coffee at Christmas time, like this sort of this, we're going to keep Christ at Christmas. Here's Christmas themed coffee.
Construction reported
and
ahead.
you looked at how it was like the coffee was like way overpriced. I'm like, you're basically like Kanye selling church hoodies. You're selling your ridiculously overpriced coffee. Is this about keeping Christ in Christmas, or is this like Dr. Phil and Mike Huckabee Chick-fil-A Day? Like, what is this? And I know that's an anachronism because they didn't have Kanye hoodies back then. And he started making videos, what we might call today Christian nationalist videos, almost taking revisionist or great liberties with American history about how totally Christian it is. I remember being subject to watching these Kirk Cameron videos in church, at Expedition Church in Cartersville, when the pastor basically gave up after he got a job as a hospice chaplain. He had a movie called Saving Christmas, and I think that had something to do with his coffee. He started showing up on TBN. It's like, I don't know about you, dude. But all that, fine. You've had this great influence as being an evangelist, Kirk Cameron, and then what does he do a couple weeks ago? He comes out as a proponent of annihilationism on a podcast with his son. But not only that, he didn't just say, well, you know, I've been reading some annihilationist guys, and I'm leaning that way, and you know, I think it's biblically justifiable, and you know, if you believe that, that's fine. He didn't do that. He's just like, this is what I believe now, and you know, basically, let me totally justify it. Because there's a lot of guys out there who are celebrity Christians, or especially apologists, who be like, well, you know, I don't believe in annihilationism, but these people do, and I'm not going to place them outside of orthodoxy. No, like, Kirk Cameron basically doubled down on what might be called conditional immortality. The belief that people don't go to hell forever, as far as what we might call eternal conscious torment. Basically, you believe like the cults, like Jehovah's Witnesses believe in annihilationism. I think Seventh-day Adventists believe in it too, but I'm not sure. I have to Google that. So now you have this guy who's been famous for being an evangelist and trained people to be evangelists. And what do you tell them? If you die, would you go to heaven or hell? If you listen to Ray Comfort training, that's what they start with. If you died today, would God send you to heaven? The alternative being hell? Or what makes you think he would send you to heaven? You just admitted to breaking the 10 Commandments. You were a thieving, adulterous liar. Why would God send you to heaven? Only if you know Jesus will you go to heaven. All right? So that's real basic stuff going. I was trained the same way in seminary. If you know what happened today, if you died, and basically the answer is, oh, I'm going to go to heaven or hell. But now hell is being annihilated because and Kirk Cameron's like, oh, it totally matches up with God's nature. It's like mercy, and that's just how God is. God wouldn't do this. All this, like, marching out the same annihilationist tropes that have been there for years, that are heretical and would split the church and tear away at the idea of God's justice and pervert it. Kirk Cameron, because you are a heretic and use your position as a famous evangelist to spread your heresy. You are hereby nominated as one of the worst Christians of 2025. Now, who's going to quote-unquote win the GOAT trophy? There's not really a trophy you want to have. We'll have to find out. I'll publish the article around December 31st. It might be the new year. We'll see. But those are the nominees for the worst Christian of the year. How long was this special episode? An hour and 10 minutes, tangents and all. Who did I miss? Anybody I missed? You can write to SethDunn88@gmail.com.
In 3.4
Tell me some people
miles,
you think I missed.
take exit 40, US 29 North, US 78 East, State Route 10 Outer Loop toward University of Georgia, Lexington, Hardwell.
Okay. Sorry, navigation lane. But you guys can tell me some people I've missed, but I want to keep... Somebody would say Robert Morris. Like, there's a good one. He was a child molester, wasn't he? I tend to try to... Greg Locke, there's another one. I tend to keep this in the bounds of what I call Orthodox Christianity. So that's what you wouldn't find Pentecostal prosperity people on there. That's why Robert Morris wouldn't be on there. That's why Joel Osteen wouldn't be on there. I try to keep it into people who have or have had Orthodox theological beliefs, not people who are obvious hucksters. So maybe there's some obvious huckster you think I left out. Like, I know how horrible Greg Locke is. My buddy's a hospice chaplain. He came to me the other day, yesterday actually, he was like, hey, what about this guy Greg Locke? You heard of him? I'm like, yeah, I heard of him. He's got soldiers coming in concerned about demons and deliverance ministry, talking to the chaplain. Now you're messing up our soldiers, Greg Locke. Yeah, you're horrible. But obviously you're not nominated because I know who you are. We get who you are. Thanks for listening to this special episode of the Christian Commute for the worst Christians of the year. Don't forget to send your questions about Christian theology and apologetics to SethDunn88@gmail.com. And hey, next year, send in periodically your nominees for worst Christian of the year. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I hope you all have a Happy New Year. And Lord willing, I'll be back with you again more regularly in the new year as I return to traveling to work and working in my office. My nice, peaceful office with my fuzzy blanket. As always, God bless. And as always, remember, Christianity is not about getting saved. It's about being saved.